Companies have a challenge getting reliable and credible tracking and reporting of their carbon offset activities. Mohammed, you've created Netzero to give companies this visibility that they want to their positive environmental impact. What are the components of the Netzero solution?
Netzero is a company that helps other companies offset their carbon emission reliably and transparently. We help them plant trees and green the desert, but also, more importantly, help them measure the impact. So our solution is trying to show them where each tree that they contribute to, where is it planted exactly, and when it was planted, and who planted it, and what are the environmental benefits of those trees, whether it's carbon sequestration, air quality improvement, maybe social impact. They could use these data in their annual ESG report, annual sustainability report. And these data are reliable, accurate, and that's the most important part of the business.
One of the elements of the solution is interactive maps that lets the user, the company, the individual within the company see exactly where a tree was planted and give them visibility to the impact that tree is having positively on the environment. How does that mapping solution work?
If you look at Saudi Arabia, and because it's mostly desert, trees are not normally planted in one dense location. They're scattered. So you cannot easily use drone or satellite to measure the impact of each individual tree. So we use a combination of mobile app. So whenever someone plants a tree, they could take a picture of it. And then we use machine learning and AI to identify the information and then aggregate that data into analyzing the impact of the tree.
Are you relying on existing water infrastructure? And since it's such a valuable commodity in Saudi, how do you measure the cost and impact with that?
One of the challenges in Saudi Arabia, as you mentioned, is the scarcity of water. And that contributes to the cost of planting a tree. Because when you plant a tree in Saudi, it's different than planting it elsewhere, because you have to maintain them, and that is additional cost. So what we're trying to do at Netzero is leverage existing resources to try and minimize the costs. So one of the things that we did at the beginning is we mapped out all the location in Saudi, whether it's inside cities or outside of cities, that has an existing irrigation network, existing water sprinklers, but no trees. And then we went to companies and said, we have those lands, there's infrastructure, there's irrigation, there's water. How about you plant your trees there? So, and they did. So they carry just a fraction of the cost, and the landowners, whether they are government or else, carry the other fraction of the cost. And this is how we managed to split the cost between multiple parties to make it feasible to plant hundreds of thousands of trees in cities.
And within that ecosystem of companies and landowners, government or private sector, where does the Netzero revenue model come in?
I wouldn't say that we are a middleman, but because we're connecting the dots and providing our solution, the technology, we're getting a fraction of each tree planted as revenue, and that helps us grow and even plant more trees.
Mohammed, what made you passionate about the Netzero mission?
When I was 7, my father used to take me for exercise around our neighborhood. And one day in the middle of a summer, he took me out with a small seed in his hand. And I remember that day very clear because it was hot. And we stumbled upon an empty, barren land. And we decided to go inside and reached in the middle. And then we dug a small hole, we put the seedling on the ground. And me being a naive 7 years old, I thought that once you put the seedling, it will become a tree.
Immediately.
Yeah, immediately. And my father saw that and he said, Mohammed, just be patient. Just do good and forget about it. And one day I came back to the same land and I decided to go inside and see if my seedling is still there or not. And when I reached in the middle, there was a tremendous tree. And I was covered by its shade, and I felt it embracing me. And this was the best feeling. What if everyone in Saudi planted a tree 20 years ago? How would the kingdom would look like right now? And that's when I had this idea of starting Netzero.
What's an example of a successful deployment already of the Netzero solution?
There was a project in the middle of a desert in northern Saudi, northeastern of Saudi. And I remember visiting that area last year, and it was completely barren, empty. And we had a challenge of planting 100,000 trees in that area. And we did it in less than 3 months. But we were afraid that next year we'll come back and see them all dead. Because planting trees in the desert is not easy. You have to maintain them.
It's very counterintuitive that would work.
Yeah, and you have to ensure that there's enough water for irrigation and fertilization. So it was quite a challenge. 1 year later, which is a few months ago, we visited that site, and the view was spectacular. There were hundreds of thousands of trees, and the area is completely green, terraformed, and it was really nice scene to see.